I'm Doth Savick, and this is my review of the Rovic RV1D push cart. This is a 3-wheel cart designed to hang a disc golf bag on. A little bit different than most carts, being that it does have 3 wheels, and that makes it a lot easier to push versus a normal 2-wheel cart, which you're generally going to be pulling. This cart retails for 199 bucks, and it is made by Click Gear. Click Gear is a company based out of Hong Kong. They do have a USA site in the Pacific Northwest, which is probably where this thing is going to ship from. If you order one online, I think a lot of them are drop shipped from that facility. Let's jump right in and see how this cart breaks down. The first thing that I'd recommend doing if you're going to break this cart down is to go ahead and set the brake on it. This has a little locking lever here, which pulls a cable and locks that rear wheel, so it won't spin anymore. This wheel gets locked. That'll help you when you're breaking it down so it doesn't go rolling away. And then also it's nice to already have it in that locked position when you're putting the cart back together and opening it up. So the first thing that you'll want to do is, depending on how you've had these hangers oriented, you'll want to unlock them and put them in the closed position. And then you're ready to go. The first part that I go to on this is the front wheel. There's a center button there. Push that button in and the wheel will start rotating. I'll pull it up until it clicks and it'll hold in that position, and then fold this piece down. The next part that you're going to go after is this center button here. When you press that button in, you start pushing forward on the handle, and it's going to take this assembly and slide it down. You can get it a good chunk closed just while it's sitting on the ground there. The next thing you want to do is pick it up and then finish that off by letting it collapse all the way. And then you have one final step left, and that is to collapse the handle. You've got a lever there to unlock it, and then the handle will fold down. Once that handle's folded down, you can go ahead and relock, and that's it. You're fully collapsed and ready to go home. Opening it back up is very similar. I like to do it in a slightly different order. I will start with this point that says pull, and that's what I'll hold the cart by, and that begins to open it up until that center piece locks in place. I then get the button to unlock that front wheel and snap it up, and then finally unlock that handle and pull it back up to whatever position I'd like it to be in. Before you hang your bag on there, you're going to want to address your backpack straps, and it is just easier to do, when your bag is sitting on the ground or in the back of your car or whatever before you strap it on. If you hang the bag first here, then you're going to be on your knees underneath it, fighting with stuff for a while. What I found to be the best with, in particular, the Octo haul that I'm using here, is to pull those straps as tight as possible. I want the backpack straps to be fully cinched. Now, what that creates is these danglers that I've got here, which are going to be dragging on the ground, and also I want to address that. And there's a number of different ways you can take care of that depending on what sort of bag you're putting on here. You can simply pull them through. These have little loops on the end of them, so I can even go through my sternum strap and use that to really hold those up in place so they're not dragging on the ground or getting caught on anything. There are 2 major differences in how to mount your bag to this thing, and that's one of the first things you got to decide or experiment with. I'd try both, depending on what bag you've got, and see what you like better. And what I'm really talking about is how far apart you're going to put these holders. This is in the maximum wide setting, spread as far as they will go, and with that orientation I would be hanging the backpack straps on there, and there's pros and cons to that. The other orientation is to pull these tighter, somewhere in the middle, about like that, and that's going to depend on what kind of a haul loop you've got on your bag, but that's what you've just set it up to do, is hang the bag from its haul loop. Now the first difference is when you have it pulled that tight, you know, you've got a closer to center line connecting point, which is going to give you more sway left and right. When you have those fully spread and your backpack straps over them, then you get a little bit less sway. The other thing that makes a big difference in how much the bag will sway is, of course, attaching the bottom straps. These clips have a little squeeze adjustment on that. With that squeezed in, I can then pull slack through it. And the bottom of the strap has a little keeper down there as well. I've already got these adjusted pretty close to where I want them. So I'm going to come up and hook that onto the bottom of that backpack strap, which I've already cinched tight. Now, something to keep in mind here, depending on what direction you hook that thing in, you may be in a spot where the bag starts pushing on this clip, and that'll allow this strap to loosen over time, which lets the bag sag back down, and you don't want that to happen. So that is something to keep an eye on when you're like practicing your setup to see exactly how you want it. You want to get these on in a way where that's not going to be pressed against your bag. With that on there, I start pulling down to tighten, and I like to get that pretty tight. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And now you can see that bag is pulled well away from the center frame of the cart. When you're pulling on those straps to get them all set up, you'll notice that the cart wants to roll, it's pulling towards you. So again, I've got the wheel locked in that case, the little handbrake up there. I also tend to take my foot and I'll stick it right under that front wheel. And you know, that helps when I'm pulling the bag out like this and pulling the straps. The cart can want to slide even with that one wheel locked, and having my foot under that front wheel just helps the process be a little bit less of a pain. Another thing that you can do to help limit the movement, the wobble on your bag, is to also utilize the sternum strap. What you can do is pull that apart and stretch it around one or both of these rods on the back and tighten that up. And that'll give you even a little bit more pressure to just kind of help hold everything in place. The biggest advantage to this style of cart is just how easy it is to move backwards and forwards. With those larger wheels on there, with a wide footprint, they're really easy rolling. It's super easy to push these things around. The downside to this one specifically is the weight distribution. You know, these Rovic carts were designed to have a ball golf bag put on there, right? A really tall, skinny bag with the clubs hanging out the top. And the reason that's important to consider is when you look at this, like the rear axle line is right here. And if we had a really tall bag with all our clubs up here, that's adding a certain amount of weight behind that axle line. And when we hang a disc golf bag on here, we have a ton of weight that's in front of that axis. With all of that weight on the front wheel, it makes it a little bit harder to steer. You know, if you're on, a nice flat ground, trimmed grass, everything like that, you can just push it a little bit, and as you're rolling, it'll slowly turn. But if you're in the woods or on paths or anything like that, you're going to need to pick that front wheel off the ground for a little bit of quicker movement. And you may find yourself doing that a lot, pushing down for a little twitch, or even just putting some pressure down, which lets it, tighten up its turn radius a little bit. And that's the biggest issue that I have with this thing. It really isn't designed specifically with disc golf in mind. This is an afterthought. This is a ball golf cart. It's designed to carry a ball golf bag, and they've modified it slightly to make it a little bit easier to hang this bag on there. I weighed this bag before I came out today, my pound octo haul with, I've got 36 ounces of water, a Nalgene, plus a 12-ounce can in there. And then I have 4 putters up top, 18 discs in the main, so 22 discs total. And then I don't think I have anything in the side pockets. Oh, there's a towel on this one. Anyways, I don't have it loaded crazy heavy or anything, and that's right at 16 pounds. So I think that's kind of a moderate weight for what most people would probably be carrying on here. And I want to give you guys an idea with 16 pounds bag hanging on it that way, just how much energy, how much force you have to press down on this in order to lift that front wheel off of the ground. Like a big purpose of this, carrying a cart of this style, pushing a cart of this style, I should say, is that you don't have to lift a bag up and down off the ground constantly. It's reducing fatigue. What I'm going to do is stack some weights on here. This is a 5 pound weight. We're going to see how much it takes to get that thing balanced. There's 10 pounds. There's 15 pounds. Starting to flex, but it's not lifting the wheel off the ground. Here's a 2.5 pound weight. 17.5. You can see how much the frame of this thing is stressing with that much weight on there. Here's another 2.5. That's where we're tipping. It is at 20. It'll just barely hold that 17.5. So my bag weighs 16 pounds. I have to put even more energy than the weight of my bag out, and I'm way out. Like, this is as far as I can get out on that handle. So if I wasn't using a cart and just had my 16 pound bag, that's 16 pounds that I'm picking up constantly. Well, if I'm in tight terrain and I need to swing this wheel, every time I'm pushing down with 17.5 pounds of force. And look what that does to the whole frame of the cart. That's how much you're stressing the frame every time you want to pick that front wheel up off of the ground. And then it gets even worse if you have your bag, really loaded up with even more fluids or discs or whatever else you're carrying, extra layers of clothing and stuff like that. So I see that as the major downside for this cart and for this design. I mean, I've not heard reports of these, plastic joints breaking or anything, but as you can see, that's just awful lot of stress, compression on it every time you want to lift that front wheel off the ground. This cart, I believe, in every orientation ships with these 2 items right here. This is one of the types of umbrella holders. It's got a little stud that screws straight in, and then this piece clips right in here to be held. So you can leave it clipped down there. It clips in really firmly. I've never had concerns of that pulling out. It goes in just fine. And the other item they ship with every one is this drink holder. You've got a couple different places that you can clip that on. One is right here on the left side, and then we've got the same mount on the right. With that specifically, it doesn't hold a 12-ounce can great. It can even fall out of there if it gets on just the right angle. So it's really not great for a can. Of course, if you have a can open and you've parked your cart and are about to go putt or whatever, yeah, sure, it works just great to hold it for a moment. With a koozie on the can, it still fits in there okay. With the standard umbrella holder in place, I'm going to show you how it works with this nice click gear umbrella. I'd highly recommend this umbrella. It is by far the nicest one that I've owned. Take the bungee and roll it over the top. It is windy out here, so this is going to be helpful. And then take that bungee and it helps capture the shoulder so that the umbrella won't pop out lifted by wind or something like that. This is a question that I see a lot, is, you know, for a different height person, how does this umbrella sit? So there, that's how tall it is. Now I've got the handle in the most upright position, so that is lifting the umbrella the highest it can be. I'm 6 feet tall, and that's just at the highest point. That's barely over my head. If I come over to one of these, like, look, that is eyeball height. I mean, you know, you don't want to mess around with somebody getting poked in the eye. If you're out on a rainy day, people are going to swarm to you to get under this umbrella. As soon as you grab your disc to go putt or whatever, somebody else is going to step under your cart, almost guaranteed. What's really weird about this, even with this like extra large size umbrella, and in the highest position, the front edges of this are dripping like directly into my disc compartment. It is not covering your bag. Like, this umbrella is more for you than it is for your bag. So when I'm really in bad weather, I'm definitely putting the full rainfly on my bag to keep that stuff as dry as possible. Now, if I want this umbrella so it's not so tilted, more of in a straight up position, I can do that and lower that handle, and now I'm a little bit better covered. But that also drops all of these down, so that I'm going to be hitting my head or catching these in my eye. So it is if you know, depending on how tall you are, it is nice to have this up higher, and the best way to do that is to get the upgraded umbrella holder. So we get a couple things with this. For one, it has a big knob on there that I can loosen and then kick this thing in different directions, so I have better control over the angle of my umbrella for different wind situations and whatnot, without having to lift that handle up and down. It does also have a swivel base on it, which is pretty hard to turn. But it does let you, rotate that umbrella. So not only can you, go towards the front of the cart and towards the back of the cart with this angle, but you can rotate it and make the whole thing lean left if you want. So really, depending on the direction the wind is blowing, rain, or what you're trying to do, this gives you so much control. The other big benefit of this is how much taller it is. So that's going to push the umbrella that much higher. That, with this one on, all those pieces that were going to poke me straight in the eye are now, touching the top of my head or something. I really like the extra height of this one, just that much taller. So I can go to the full, the tallest part of the notches on the handle position, and then I don't have to leave this lean forward. I can loosen it up and bring it straight up. And now those ones that were getting me right in the eyeball, they're just barely touching the top of my head. So depending, again, on your height, that can be huge. That can be a really nice difference. There's a really nice built-in storage option for these umbrellas. Down here on this left wheel, they have a Phillips screw that's holding in this little loop of webbing, and that'll capture the tip of your umbrella. And then this little double Velcro piece right here is to hold the umbrella in place. It's a super slick, really quick and easy way to attach your umbrella to the cart. The next accessory we'll look at is the steering knob. I've got this nice little ergonomic knob, a little bit of rubber here, and the rest of it is pretty slick plastic. And that's really designed to have your thumb put in that piece there, and it screws straight into that same spot as your umbrella holder would. With that tightened down, the top will still spin. What that does is it makes it a little bit easier to steer the cart in some situations. Like, for example, if I'm coming at the cart from the side here and I want to walk that direction, I need to swing the cart all the way around. and you know, I can twist my wrist and grab the handle and push it down and swing it, but this knob makes it a little bit easier. I can keep my wrist in a more comfortable orientation and swing the cart right around. Next on our list is these mitts. This I thought was, like, honestly pretty goofy until I actually tried them out. And you know, on some last winter I played some really cold rounds. I mean, I pushed this thing on ice and snow, and I tested these mitts out. Now they do have these little pockets on the front here, which is designed for hand warmers. It's got a little Velcro piece in there you can slide a hand warmer in. I don't like that design. I did use hand warmers with these mitts, but I really didn't like putting them in here. The inside of these gloves is insulated, so if you're gonna use a hand warmer to keep your hands warm, you put the hand warmer inside the insulation. You know, having it here, you just have one little piece of fabric, and so the wind, the cold is stealing the heat from your hand warmer, and not much heat from the hand warmer is making it through the insulation inside the mitts. So this is just silly. Like, I like, you know, cool idea to have a dedicated spot to put a hand warmer, but the reality is you're much better off just dumping a hand warmer straight inside there. You can see the synthetic insulation they have, just some nice fuzzy stuff. The way these are designed to work is you keep the thumbs on top and then take the fingers and stick the Velcro in place like that. And depending on how tight you have that, will kind of change how much your fingers are curled. And there you go, your mitts are in place. So then when I go to push the cart, I just, you know, take my hand and stick it inside there, and I'm able to get my fingers down through the bottom and pull that. Even without a hand warmer inside there, just how much that protects my hands against the wind, and the fact that I don't have to take gloves and put gloves on and take gloves off constantly. I can just stick my hands right in there. A lot of times I even leave my hands in a fist when I would do that, and just with my fist in there, I can still push the cart because I just kind of hit this piece here. So that makes them even warmer. If I reach inside there and find my hand warmer and just grab it and then leave my fist balled up inside there, this thing is just awesome. If you know, the wind can just freeze your hands so fast, especially when you're playing in, you know, 20 degree, 30 degree weather and there's any wind at all. These are just amazing. I've had people kind of giggle. They look funny when they're on there, but then as soon as one of your buddies sticks his paws in there with the hand warmers, they get it. They won't be laughing. They won't be laughing for long. They'll be super jealous. I really like these mitts. If you're pushing in cold weather, they are totally worth it. This is the rangefinder bag from Click Gear. What's nice about all of these Click Gear specific additional storage items is that you have the nice little hook piece that just lets you clip these right in place. They can swivel back and forth. It's just such a slick way to mount stuff. You know, you definitely have a nice high price tag with the Click Gear branded stuff, but it is nice how seamlessly they work on these carts. This one in particular has a magnetic closure on the flap and then zipper around the top. The inside of it is very soft fabric, and the whole thing is padded, so it really is set up well to protect an expensive piece of electronics. This is much bigger than my rangefinder is. I forgot to bring that out with me today, so I can't show you the exact size of my rangefinder, but for example, here's a 12-ounce can. I could fit 2 cans in there, so that gives you an idea just how big it is. The magnetic closure on this thing is super sweet and satisfying. If you are pulling your rangefinder in and out a lot, especially if you're in a tournament round, you don't want to make noise as you're doing that. You know, if you're close to somebody else who's setting up for a throw, you don't want to be ripping Velcro or pulling zippers or anything to make noise. But with that magnetic closure, you can leave this thing unzipped and still have confidence that your rangefinder is not going to fall out or whatever you have in here that you want to access. And you can silently open it and get what you want, and then also close it pretty quietly with that magnet on there. I love those magnetic closures. It's a super cool little addition. One thing that you can do, you know, this cart comes with those two points to hang. Anything that you hang over here is potentially going to get in your way if you have, you know, like the umbrella in place, or the umbrella holder clipped up in here. That can kind of rub on this. You can get additional mounting points. Like I've added one down here. This is just a little clamp. I could clamp this on any exposed section of bar if I wanted to, you know, have this hung in a different spot like that. This is a really cool option for, you know, just cell phone, wallet, keys. If you don't want to put that stuff in your bag, kind of like how I talked about all that weight up front not being great, this gives you potential to remove some of the weight from your bag and have it hang, you know, closer to that center axle line, or even further out here on the handle if you wish. This is the Click Gear cooler tube. Same mounting style. We've got a couple mesh pockets on the sides. It's a great spot for scorecard. You can put a mini marker in there. You use them to tuck away trash from yourself or that you find out on the course. And then a zippered closure on top. This is pretty nasty inside. I've used it a lot. It is lightly insulated with a, you know, somewhat water resistant, you know, I'd call it water resistant probably, lining on the inside. Again, if I have it hung there, I'm possibly getting in the way of some other stuff. So that's another mounting point that I really like for it. Here's a 36 ounce Nalgene. If it fits in there just great, no problem. You know, if I had a little bit of ice in this, in my Nalgene, then this cooler tube would help keep it cool for a whole lot longer. You can fit cans in there. I've been using this, like if I've got a bunch of cans out on the course, then I'll use this as my little trash can. Instead of, you know, when I crush my cans, they got a little bit of water left in them. I don't want to throw that back in my bag, or, you know, it can leak a little bit. So that's partly why this is so dirty, is because I'll just throw my empty crushed cans in there, and it works great for that. This is the cooler bag from Rovic. Similar to the rangefinder bag, we've got a little magnetic closure on that top flap, so that will help keep it closed. It hasn't always stayed closed like that for me. Under the flap, we've got a little zippered compartment. It only goes about that far through, so it's not, you know, huge, but gives you the option to store a little bit of stuff in there more securely. Otherwise, the top opening, you know, there's no Velcro, no zipper, so it's not like great security for whatever you're gonna throw in there, but you can put a stack of discs in there if you'd like. It's a great little spot for additional disc storage. Or, you know, if you wanted to fill it up with snacks or something like that on top, that would work fine. And then on the bottom, we've got a zippered opening that again is kind of lightly insulated, you know, somewhat water resistant coating in there. At the very back of that, we've got a little mesh pocket with elastic on top. So it gives you the option to, I don't know if you want to put your ice pack in there, or again, I've used it for trash a little bit. I can, you know, stick wrappers and stuff in there and just have an ice pack sitting in the bottom if you really want to help keep stuff cool. The way this attaches is with a couple of hooks down here at the bottom. These are a little bit adjustable. I have a Velcro keeper, so I can slide this around and then stick that Velcro back down. That may be for different cart versions that this is adaptable to. I've not found the need to let these slide around. You know, if I loosen that, this hook is going to come up, which means the bag is going to sit even closer to the ground, and that's one of the issues that I do have with this, is it hanging too low, and I just keep kicking it with my toes as I'm trying to push the cart. So those two clips on the bottom, which go to our frame, and then on top we have a little Velcro capture with a buckle. I'll show you. If I take these two clips and press them down onto the two bars there, for one thing, this brake cable can get in your way. You don't want to clamp down on that cable, so I found that I'll pull the cable up around so that it fits on top, and then push that clamp down in place, and that makes sure that my cable's not getting pinched, damaged in any way. And then I've got the second clip on. Now I'm ready to attach the top, and here I've got some decisions to make. So I've found the best way is to keep it high. You want to come all the way around up on top of that piece, and then do the same on the right. And this does get a little bit tight to pull that through, and I just cinch it down really good and stick that Velcro on there. Now what that's done is it's pulled the bag high enough that one of my clips has come off, so I have to come back down and kind of reseat that. Having it strapped that high really helps this bottom edge stick up higher, so that I'm not just sweeping it with my feet every time. If I take this strap and hang it all the way in the lower position, then it lets this bag really sag down like that, which it'll with weight in it, it'll get so heavy that the magnet won't even reach anymore. So this top will just be flapping out like that all the time, and this corner is hanging so much lower, it's kind of in the way of my feet. You can see it's not a great fit that way. Again, the best I've found is to bring it all the way up towards the top. If you really do want the extra disc space though, that's a great way to have some more discs handy, is by using that top section. I've saved my least favorite for last. This is the seat from Click Gear. This has a little cushioned top on it. I believe that's sold separately. If you buy just the seat, this is what you're getting. It's just a plastic core. So if you do find that you like this accessory and you want it to be a little bit more comfortable, then the cushion's totally the way to go. It's got a little drawstring on there to tighten it down. The reason that I dislike this accessory so much is because of how noisy it is as you're pushing the cart. This is a little spring-loaded mechanism, so it's designed that when you sit on it, the spring compresses. The foot goes all the way down to the ground. That way, your weight is not going onto the frame of the cart, and you're actually sitting straight on the ground with that. Those extra moving carts means that this is a noisy sucker, and I don't even have it on there yet. When I have it on, then the capture point on here moves also. It even has more rattle to it. If that sort of noise doesn't bug you as you're pushing the cart, then we're different sorts of people. But some people really do like them. When you get this seat, it's not particularly simple to put in place. It comes with a bracket that I already have put on here. In order to get that bracket in place, you have to take apart this assembly, a couple screws out of it, slide that bracket in, and I think they send new longer screws with it that you then put in to lock that bracket in place. When you've got all of that done, it is pretty straightforward to slide this in. This little button here is the key. I just put it down into the bottom of the bracket and slide this up, and it locks in place. As I slide it up into the tube, that button then hops out as soon as it finds a hole, and that's what locks this in place. To get it off, there's a little tab inside there I just squeeze on, and then the whole assembly is ready to drop out of place. So once you have that bracket put on, then the seat is pretty easy to clip back and forth. Now you'll see that as soon as I put that on, I'm coming pretty close to my bag, and if I have other accessories, then those can kind of crowd my seating area as well. Of course, I've added that one in place there, but so it can make for a little bit of a tight feel as you come sit there. It is got a fair bit of wobble to it, so you definitely don't want to go crazy while you're sitting on this thing, but try to keep it straight up and down so you're not putting a whole bunch of weird stress on that axle. If that noise doesn't bother you, then this really may be a great addition. I don't think there's any way to tighten this up. I imagine that every one of them makes this much noise, and the folks that like them and use them, it just doesn't bother them. With this fixed front wheel, if you notice that your cart is tracking, like you're always moving left or it's always, you know, curling to the right, there is an adjustment for that. On the edge here, I don't know if you can even see that or not, but there is little arrows pointing, it's, you know, that way it says is right. You know, if you're standing behind the cart, that's how it would be, and the other way left. And you'll notice that there's a little screw tip under there. You take a Phillips screwdriver and you turn that screw following the arrows, depending on which way you want to go. And what that does is that screw pushes on this left for you it's left side axle, and it lifts it higher or it pulls it down. The axle on the other side is stuck in place, so by taking the axle on that side and lifting it up, it's taking the entire wheel and moving it that direction. So that is how you fix if your cart is tracking one way or another. That's a slick little deal they've designed there to make it easy to change. Another thing to consider with this is just how wide that wheelbase is. Those rear wheels are 30 inches, between 30 and 31 inches apart. That is quite wide. Like the front door in my apartment, for example, I have to be rolling this thing slow and carefully just to even get it through my doorway. And that certainly comes into play when you're out on a course in tight woods or anything like that. I found that on occasion I'm tipping up on an angle like this to get my wheels, you know, through a little bit of a more narrow spot, or to, you know, clear a rock or something, and that's fine. You can do a lot of off-roading with it, but that's certainly something to keep in mind, is just how wide that footprint is at, you know, between 30 and 31 inches. Other than the weight imbalance with how much weight we have loaded up towards the front, the next main concern that I have about using this cart, or a cart of this style, is what it's doing to your straps. Like in order to have this pulled on tight enough so that the bag isn't wobbling around like crazy, you're putting some crazy tension on your straps that are not normally designed to be pulled that hard. You know, with the straps on the bottom pulling it down tight, that's more stress than would be put on straps when they're just on your shoulders. And you can see it's, you know, twisting the straps in a weird way as well. It's like the medieval, you know, torture stretching tables or whatever. You're literally like trying to pull that strap apart in order to get the bag so that it hangs smoothly. The, you know, other way to do it, to try to relieve pressure from your straps, would be to, you know, pull those pieces together and hang it from your haul loop, as I showed earlier. But then you still need the bottom points pulling down, and so you don't have a top supporting point on your straps, but then you're just pulling down on the backpack straps instead. And that's not in general how these are designed to be used. You know, the strap should be pulled upwards as it's going over your shoulder, and that's the supporting point, is pulling up on the bag with that strap, not pulling down. So either way, I feel like you're putting a lot of stress on your bag in a way that it's not necessarily designed to be pulled on. And that is one of the things that would push me more towards a real bag style cart, where I can just, you know, set my bag down on the cart, and reduces the stress that would be put on any of the backpack straps. You know, if you've done research on different bags and how durable they are, you've probably seen that some of the stuff complained about the most is straps tearing. And I don't know of any scenario in which straps are worked harder than being stretched on a cart like this. Another thing to consider when you're hanging your bag is that especially if it's a softer bag like this Octo Haul is, the weight of the discs are going to sit down to the bottom. You know, when you've set this on flat ground, you have a support down there, and when everything is pushed up like that, you've got extra room to, you know, slide your fingers in between discs and pull them out. And you can tell I don't have this like crazy packed full here. As soon as everything starts hanging down like that, these are pushing on each other, and it's harder to get in between your discs. So I found that, you know, 20 discs in the main compartment may feel just fine to me when I'm normally using this bag and setting it on the ground. But then when I hang it on a cart and everything is sagging and squeezing in, you know, the sides are getting pulled inwards, then I have to take 2 or 3 discs out to have that same feel and ease of, you know, pushing my discs apart and selecting which one I want. Up here on the handle, we've got a little bit of additional storage space. This lid has a little plastic clasp on there. You just lift it, pop it open, and you've got room in there for a bit of stuff. I really like putting a towel or like my whale sack, for example. Those are just perfect items to put in there. It is a, you know, plastic bottom, so if you're throwing car keys or cell phone or something, you're just going to hear those items bouncing around inside there, so that's not really ideal. This wasn't a very tight fit on mine. Now this lid is pretty soft, flexible, and that might be maybe just mine that was a little bit weirdly shaped, but it would just bounce up and down. It was rattling even when it was clasped closed. So I took a little bit of Velcro, sticky backing, and just stuck it on each corner there, and that was enough to firm it up so that lid stopped bouncing around and making noise. On top of it, we got a couple bungee straps. This one is great for scorecard. You can just slide the card underneath there and it'll capture it pretty well. It'd have to be super windy to pull that away, so it's a nice easy spot, and that's a decent surface to actually ride on if you want to hold your scorecard down there for riding. There's a little groove cut in the plastic over here with the bungee attachment around it. That's just great for, you know, pencil, pen, or Sharpie, whatever you might want to put on there. The 3 little holes over here almost look like, you know, they're designed for a pencil, but they're not. Those would be for golf tees. Overall, it's a great little additional storage spot. You know, the noise bugged me at first, but once I had that addressed, then I've had no other issues with it. If you've got questions on anything that I didn't address today in this video, feel free to leave them in the comments. I keep a pretty close eye on that stuff. I get back to people relatively fast, so I'll be happy to entertain any questions. If, you know, there's extra knowledge that I have, I'm happy to share. I hope that I've given you enough information today to help you decide really whether this is the right cart for you. I know that some of my videos get a little bit long and nitpicky and whatnot, but that's just what works for me. It seems the most natural. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me to the end. If you do feel like you've gotten good information out of this video, please, you know, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Either of those things help me quite a bit. And if you want to go one step further, you can even join my channel. There's a button down there right next to subscribe that says join. It's a monthly fee. You can, you know, donate a couple dollars to me, and also get emotes and a badge next to your name if you want to come out, hang out in any of my live streams, anything like that. Just a little bit of extra. It definitely helps. Any extra $1 or $2 or, you know, $3, whatever you can spend. I do have a Patreon as well if you prefer that. I'd like to do more cart reviews. I've tried a number of Zuka carts in the past. I've pushed jogging strollers. You know, I really have used a lot of different carts and just haven't had the ability to, you know, get outside in a space where I can really show them off and talk about them. And hopefully that's worked out okay today. I know there's a fair bit of noise going on around me. I got construction. I had a dude out with a leaf blower earlier, and it's kind of windy, so hopefully the audio is not too nasty. I guess if it's really bad, you won't be watching this because I'll delete it and record the whole thing over again. But I'm experimenting, I'm learning, you know, with this different technology, and, you know, trying to move forward and being able to get more and more videos out for you guys. If you do want to see more carts, let me know. Let me know what you'd like to see next. You know, they are getting pricey. You know, to try to get a whole bunch of Zuka carts or carts from different manufacturers, it really could add up pretty quick. So we'll see what I can work out there. I'd really like to get my hands on the Ridge Roller cart, maybe next year. That one's for sure. I think the nicest one out there, just based on what I know about it, but it also has pretty high price tag, so I might have to save up a bit for that one. But again, you know, if that's what you guys want to see, then any extra $1 you can send my way helps me get it even quicker. I do have more bags lined up. I'm about finished testing the DG cooler bag. Maybe just in the next few days even I'll record that video and have that one out shortly after you're seeing this video for the Rovic. After that I'll be back to the Upper Park Rebel, the older version. I've already carried it for a couple rounds, but I need more than that before I can, you know, really do a full review on it. So that's probably the bag that I will go back to and be carrying next. After that, I still do have a DD Commander and an older version of the MVP Voyager bag. So both of those are, you know, kind of in the on deck slot. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Perhaps one of those, or maybe a cart or another bag. You know, I'm always looking for your guys' recommendations. So if there's anything specific you want to see, just put it in the comments. Let me know. I appreciate you guys all for watching. Thank you very much.